Yes, 1 week on from the tram crash here in Croydon, a week that's been incredibly difficult and upsetting for the South London community. But at least today they do have a little bit more information about what happened last Wednesday. The initial findings have been published today, and they've revealed that the tram, which was carrying about 60 people at the time, was travelling just over 43 miles per hour in a 12-mile-per-hour zone. That's just over 3 times the speed limit. They also added in the report that there was no evidence of malfunctioning in the braking system of the tram, of any track defects or obstructions on the track. It was just after 6 a.m. when emergency services received reports of an accident in Croydon. A 2-carriage tram had derailed on a tight bend before flipping onto its side as it made its way between Lloyd Park and Sandilands Station. Witnesses described their shock as people were carried away on stretchers. More than 70 firefighters worked to rescue those trapped inside the tram. It wasn't until the afternoon that officers confirmed there had been fatalities. In all, 7 people were killed and another 50 were hurt, some with life-changing injuries including amputated limbs. In the days following the crash, details of those victims emerged, including young Crystal Palace fan Dane Chinnery, 52-year-old Philip Logan, grandfather Philip Seary, mother of 2, Dorota Rinkovitz, lifelong Chelsea supporter Robert Huxley, 35-year-old Mark Smith, and grandfather Donald Collette. Alfred Dorris was driving the tram. The 42-year-old from Beckenham was arrested at the scene and questioned on suspicion of manslaughter before being bailed until next year. First Group, which carries out the day-to-day operations of the trams, say he'd worked at the company since 2008. An extra minute's silence was observed during last week's remembrance services in the borough to remember those that died. Croydon Council have also announced plans for 2 permanent memorials to the victims. Well, the report has issued some urgent safety advice for First Group and Transport for London, measures which they believe will reduce the risk of the trams approaching that sharp bend where the track happened at such an excessive speed. Among other things, they're suggesting a further speed restriction at the start of that 12-mile-per-hour zone, as well as additional warning signs for drivers. Mike Brown, who's London's Transport Commissioner, has said, of course, they will be following that advice. He also added in a statement this afternoon, we are continuing to carry out a thorough safety assessment and are taking the advice of an independent panel of tram experts. We will only resume services for the local community once that rigorous assurance process has been completed. Transport for London have also offered to pay for the funerals of the 7 victims of the crash, the 6 men and 1 woman who died last week. They say they will cover all costs as well as travel expenses for family members. Well, a further report into the incident will be published in the coming months. But now, at least, people do have a little bit more information about what happened as they begin to come to terms with this really tragic incident here in South London. And, of course, they continue to lay hundreds of tributes and flags here just close to the scene to remember those loved ones who died. And a little later on in the programme, we will be speaking to a lawyer who will be representing some of those people who were injured in the crash.